when I had this crazy challenge and idea to do this weekly, I actually did not expect for our previous speakers to be so open and eager to join in and be part of this series. So a special big thank you to Julien for your time and for the fact that you accepted our invitation to be with us this morning. He was our speaker last year in October 2019, and we explored the global theme of flow. He's a creative and enthusiastic innovator, a success coach for managers and leaders, but also artists and designers. And he was born in Paris, but his road brought him to Cluj, where he also started a very beautiful family. And from now on, I will pass the mic to Julien.
Thank you. Thank you for the lovely welcome and lovely introduction. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, good. Well, thank you again, Stefania, for the invitation. It was always a pleasure to join, and definitely enthusiastic about it, and lovely to see as well a lot of faces I may have seen in the past in previous events as well, and new faces I've seen I haven't seen before. I've spotted as well a few people. I have a very good PR person, which is my wife, so I've spotted a few people I know very well as well. I've seen even a baby I know in there somewhere. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to have the chance to spend a bit of time with you guys. I'm not going to spend much time, I think, actually, about introducing myself, because I think Stefania did it very well. But what I'd like to do to start with is I'd like to do a small exercise, and I'm going to need your help for that. And what I'm going to ask you to do is simply just to relax on your chair and close your eyes. And I'm going to read you something, and I want you to really get into it. So take a deep breath, close your eyes at home and relax. And I imagine that you're sat in front of a bowl of lemons. You look at them. They are bright yellow and plump. They are in peak condition. They are nicely ripe. You can already detect a faint citrus aroma in the room. You reach forward and pick one up. It feels heavy and full of juice. You can feel the coarse skin of the lemon as you trace your finger across the surface. You hold it to your nose, and the lemony aroma is now a little bit stronger. With your fingernail, you gently scrape the surface of the lemon. This releases some of the lemony oils which are in the peel. The scent of lemon is even stronger. Can you smell that? It's a pleasant, sharp, clean smell. Might remind you of some of your favorite food too. Next, you reach for a sharp knife, and holding the lemon on a chopping board, you carefully cut the lemon in two. Now the lemon smell is much stronger. You can really smell the zesty aroma of the lemon peel. You can also smell the sharper aroma coming off the lemon juice that is now running on the chopping board. You look at the cut surfaces of the lemon. They look shiny and fresh. The juice continues to run a little. You see that some of the lemon and the lemon pips have been cut in half. They look like little pearls in the lemon flesh. That lemony citrusy scent is now really quite strong. It seems to bombard your senses. You continue to slice the lemon. Again, the scent just seems to get stronger with each slice. Some of the lemon juice has run onto your fingers. You lick a bit of the juice, and you can now taste the sharp, astringent taste of the lemon juice. You can feel your mouth pucker as the acidity hits the inside of your mouth. Together with the scent of the lemon, you now have a very clear sense of the lemon in the room. It's something you quite like. I'm not gonna let you come back in that virtual room that we're in. Now that you've experienced fully this exercise. So this is an exercise. I'll tell you a little bit more about why I wanted to do that, but keep in mind a little bit all the emotions and the feelings that you had while you were doing this. If you want to share actually on the chat, you're more than welcome to as well. I'd love to hear what you feel right now. But this exercise effectively is a good example of actually how our brain works, and how powerful actually the power of the brain is, and how important it is actually for us when we're entering challenging situations. And I'm going to need Stefania's help a little bit here, but I'm going to ask you one question before I start. And what I'd like to ask you is, what is your biggest challenge right now? And when I'm asking about what is your biggest challenge, I'm asking you about you specifically. What is your challenge?
And in order to do this little game, I propose you something we also did last week, and it came from another Creative Mornings organizer. Start writing down your challenge in the chat, but don't press enter. Just wait for my signal, and we will all share them in the same time. So start writing, wait for the signal.
What is your biggest challenge at the moment, specifically for you? Considering the times we're in, the impact of everything that is happening outside that we may not have control over, what then becomes a challenge for you?
Okay, so at 3, 2, 1, press enter. Wow.
So much to read suddenly.
But it's so beautiful to see all the ideas and, you know, people without talking to each other or knowing. And
there are some really, really nice things actually in there. And I think we can pick a few examples as we go through. And I hope some of you actually will be happy to unmute yourself a little bit later as well and share some of these challenges, and we can go a little bit more into detail. What I like to do first is to tell you a little bit more about resilience and about mental toughness. By the way, I'll talk about resilience and mental toughness a little bit interchangeably. However, they're not really. I think mental toughness goes a little bit more in detail than resilience, and it goes a little bit further than resilience. But for the sake of making it simple today, you might hear me use one or the other in a similar idea. When we talk about resilience, we talk about how do we prepare for, how do we deal with, and how do we recover from challenging situations. And I thought it would be a really interesting topic for the times we're in, although it's applicable for everything, because challenges happen daily, from wondering where the hell did I put my phone to what time is my next meeting. These are like small stresses and challenges that come at any point in time. And obviously we have the bigger ones that like what we're living right now with the virus and being stuck at home and having to adapt. These are much bigger challenges, and there is anything in between as well. So when we talk about resilience, it's important to remember that it is an ability. So that's something that we can actually work on. So preparing for those challenges becomes very important. Obviously, when we're in the challenge, how do we deal with it? Or how do we deal with them is also something that is going to be important to consider. But then once the challenges have passed, how do we reflect on them? How do we bounce back? Because what is important is not to get stuck into that challenge. And why is it important actually to develop resilience? Well, there are a number of reasons. One of them that is very clear is performance. How well do we perform when we're in periods of challenges? How positive are we in those periods of stress, and how does it impact our life? Being able to transition. I work a lot with people in transition. So going from, I don't know, one job to another, or one career to another, or maybe, I don't know, a mother that goes from being at home with their kids back to work, or vice versa, actually, being at work and building a career to being a mother at home. Um, so in terms of transition as well, resilience is going to have a huge impact on how uh, we we enter that change. Things like completing things or having big aspirations, resilience is again going to have a huge impact on that. But most importantly, and I think that's probably one of the core things we tend to forget as well, is our well-being. Because when you look, and these days actually is a very interesting example, we have a lot more time maybe to do things that we didn't have time to do before. For example, watch webinars, join online conferences, take a course online. A lot of the courses that we see that are out there are really about how do we develop abilities, skills, competencies. One of the things that is very important is how do we focus on ourselves first, and on our physiological needs, because that's the first thing that kicks in when a stressor comes. And to tell you a little bit more about resilience, we can look at it in two ways. One way is to look at the different domains of resilience. The different domains of resilience are physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. So there's four of them. Physical is obviously how do we feel in our body, our physiological state. Um, have I slept enough? What happens if I don't sleep enough? I only have a 2 hour sleep because, I don't know, I was too hot at home, or there was noise that woke me up. How am I going to feel the next morning when I encounter a new challenge? If, I don't know, if I don't take care of my body and my health, how is that going to impact me? Emotional is how you're looking into dealing with your own emotions, being able to regulate them, being able to recognize them, being able to deal with others' emotions as well. So again, what's the impact when we have a stressful event coming up? Mental is about, it's about our brain, mental, intellectual. It's about our brain. It's about how do we make sure that well, we keep that piece of jelly between our two ears always working. Reading books, learning, all these kind of things are very important. And then there is spiritual. And spiritual is a very difficult word sometimes for people to get in, because we associate it with some very specific things. But spiritual is what is going to make us relate to our own purpose. For some people, it might be things like religion. For others, and I'm going to bring my cup here actually, because that's a good example. Stefania asked me, told me, don't forget to bring your favorite cup. And I told her the other day, well, I'm really struggling because I have a lot of favorite cups. So which one am I going to choose? Well, I chose this one actually. And I don't know if you can see, but it says Los Angeles there. This is one of my favorite memories and trips I've done in my life with a group of very close friends. And for me, that's what is part of the spiritual, being able to discover new culture, new places, new areas. So this is what enables me to build my resilience on that area. And that's why I decided to take this cup today. So this is one way to look at it, the four domains of resilience. Another way to look at it is, and now I'm bouncing into the mental toughness, is something called the four C's. which is control, confidence, commitment, and challenge. So when we look at mental toughness, these are the 4 areas that we need to think about in terms of developing them to become more mentally tough or more resilient. Control is really about how do we manage our emotions, how do we manage the things around us, or at least how do we feel about those things around us, whether we have control or not, but being able to have the right mindset when we're not in control. Confidence is a mix between the confidence in your abilities and interpersonal confidence, so with the people around us and the people we encounter. Commitment is about how much do we commit to something and not give up on the way. And then finally, challenge is about how we readily take new challenges and kind of push ourselves outside of our comfort zone. So this is a little bit about the topic as a whole and how important it is, and what we need to look into to be able to actually enter new challenges in a way where we don't impact our performance, we don't impact negatively our performance, our well-being, the way we take on challenges and so on. I'd like to probably stop a little bit here, I think, because I don't really enjoy being the one talking too much, and because I want to share some tools and techniques as we go through. But maybe there's someone who wants to ask a question or share maybe one of their challenges, and then we can talk through it rather than me throwing things to do. Anyone wants to unmute themselves, share one of their challenges, or share it. I can pick actually one from the chat as well. But I'd love to have someone coming up as well and talking to me, so I don't feel like I'm alone here on my side and talking to myself.
Hi everyone, this is Joanna. I can share. I hope you're having a good morning. My challenge is actually, it seems very simple, waking up at the same time that I used to. And you would say that because we're at home, that shouldn't be a problem so much, but it actually impacts my entire day because I struggle to keep my normal schedules and my normal routine. And I realized how much I used to kind of try and force control my routine before. It was very easy to kind of force myself to wake up, go to the gym, go to work. So everything was like a German clock. And I knew exactly what I had to do. So I didn't have to use a lot of willpower to do it. It was that hour, that's what you do. And now because I don't have that, so I don't have to go to the gym. I can't go to the gym anymore. And I work straight from home, I simply cannot make myself wake up. And it's been frustrating me for the last few weeks. And some days it's better and some days it's worse. And it has a knock-on effect on my entire day. So that's my challenge.
Okay, thanks for sharing. And lovely to have you on the call as well.
And I did oversleep today as well.
And you have someone in the chat actually who's going, I feel you, Joanna. So you're not the only one in there. Well, interestingly enough, actually, one of the things that that I think is a challenge for a lot of people these days, specifically with the challenge we're going through right now, having to self-isolate, and it's interesting that you've used the word normal actually, because you talk about a normal routine, but we're in a not normal context as well. And indeed, I think there is a will to have that routine, which I understand, and I will park it for a second because that's one thing, and that's your motivation. But one thing I wanted to say before that is that for a lot of people at the moment, one thing that is very stressful is that normal that you cannot apply anymore. And I think it's okay to let go. It's okay to let go and say, well, we're not living in the normal times that we had before. It's important maybe to have a routine and to decide what is that routine. But I think for all of us, it's also important to think about what's that new routine. My routine for the last few years has been every day, a little bit clockwork like you, not going to the gym, unfortunately, and my body definitely is telling me that. But I would go and stop at Starbucks. I would drop the kids to school and I would stop at Starbucks because this is the time, those half an hour, 45 minutes that are just for me. And that was really focusing on a number of areas of my resilience, from emotional to mental to even spiritual, because I was spending time with myself. That was my routine. Obviously, I can't do that anymore. So I need to find my new routine. And that's a message I wanted to share with everyone. Don't feel bad if you cannot have your normal routine. It's okay. Find a routine that works for you now. So now back to what you were saying, Joanna, in terms of creating that routine. For you is the wish to have that routine where you wake up on time. There are a number of different tools actually. There is one that I really like, and the idea is to create a form of routine, very helpful for people like as well who want to maybe start a new physical activity and they're not used to it, is to have a goal to do something every day for 30 minutes. Obviously, when you start, it's very hard. So it's about breaking it down and saying, okay, I'm going to do it 5 times this week. And my goal is to do that exercise or that activity or that routine 5 times a week for 30 minutes. That's my ultimate goal. But what I'm going to do is in the first week, break it down into smaller chunks and say, well, for this week, I'm going to do at least 5 minutes. I'm going to do 5 minutes 5 times this week. And then next week, I can move it to 10 minutes. Then I can move it to 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then reach my goal of 30 minutes. So that's one thing that, that could be used as a tool. Another tool that comes to mind as well is there is something called, and the exercise itself is called moving from ants to pets. So ants, A-N-T, plural S, is automatic negative thoughts. Pets are your positive enabling thoughts. And I can share some of these exercises. I think we'll figure out with Stefania how we can share them, but I will share the template if you're interested. So the idea is to think about a goal that you're at risk not to achieve. For example, here, my goal is to wake up every morning on time so I can not have my day impacted by that. What you're doing is in one corner of your paper, you write down what are your automatic negative thoughts? What are those justifications that you're giving yourself that make you not achieve that goal? And then on the other side, you write down what's the impact? What are the consequences of those automatic negative thoughts? And then you move to the next level and you think about your positive enabling thoughts. And these are, what are the things you need to tell yourself that I actually will, what's the word I'm looking for, will back up why you should actually achieve that goal. And then you can even write down actually, if you were to focus on these positive enabling thoughts, what are the chances, maybe on a scale from 0 to 10, what are the chances that you're going to achieve that goal? And then compare it to maybe a same scale with your automatic negative thoughts. So once you've got your positive enabling thoughts, then you can think as well about what's the impact. What is going to be the impact for me? What is going to be impact for the people around me, for my family, for my emotions and feeling? How am I going to feel if I focus on these positive enabling thoughts? So these are 2 exercises, breaking it down into smaller chunks and going from one week to another, or looking at what are those justifications and what should I actually tell myself and what's going to be the impact. these are two exercises that are quite useful in when we talk about resilience for some of these topics. Hope that helps.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I know it's early morning, but let me have a quick look.
We have Deria Lim raised a hand.
Yes, please.
Hey, good morning. So my biggest struggle for right now is to have time to do everything I've planned to do, because since I'm staying home, I have the impression that I have a lot more time than I actually have, just because I don't have to go somewhere. And sometimes it turns out that I don't have that much time,
Okay.
even if I'm home. So yeah, that's my biggest challenge for this period of time.
And how do you feel about that?
Um, a little pressured, because I still want to do everything I have to do, but at the same time, sometimes I have to stay awake all night just to get things done.
Okay. And why is it important for you to do all these things?
Maybe because it doesn't only impact myself.
Hmm.
Sure, homework for college is just for me, but other stuff impact other people, like the work I have to do for organizations, or some premises I have to do for some people.
Okay. So here is a really cool tool actually you could use, because I think one of the things that is difficult to do, because I can hear the pressure you're giving yourself, but at the same time as well the the feelings of frustrations that can come up from that. One tool that is really cool to use, and I shared it with someone the other day, might be on the call actually, is write down on post-it notes all the different things you have to do, but don't make them too big, first of all. So that's one thing. One thing that is important when we look into goals is not to create goals that are too overwhelming, because it's very, very frustrating to have a goal that when you look at it and it doesn't feel like it's moving forward, and it's becoming overwhelming, it's really, really frustrating. You need to be able to see that you move forward with your goals. So chunking your goals into small bits is very important. And there is a simple technique for that, where you can, you can break your goal into half, and then you break it into half again, and you keep doing that. And what do you need to achieve maybe by tomorrow, in 2 days, in 4 days, in 8 days, and so on. So that's an important start to have. Once you have those tiny goals, and that's an exercise I would actually recommend you to do after the call if you're interested. Take some post-it notes or paper or whatever, whiteboard and so on, and write down on each paper one goal that you need to achieve by tomorrow. You're going to have a list of, I don't know, maybe 10, 20 goals in there, and put them up on a wall somewhere in your house. Tomorrow, at the end of the day, once you've completed your goals, or tomorrow morning, if it's the goals for today, what you're going to do is look at your goals, but leave them on the wall. Instead, on top of each of those goals, put another post-it note and write down, how do you feel right now about having achieved that goal? What that does is not only it gives you a feeling of achievement, which is very important, because when we talk about that mental toughness in the forces, the kind of the challenge and commitment part means as well behind that we need to recognize when we've achieved something. So it gives you a sense of achievement, but it enables you at the same time to really express the emotion itself that goes with achieving that specific goal, because you want to be able to switch from an area where you're into emotions that are depleting you, like frustration and maybe worry and stress and maybe a feeling of others relying on you and so on. You want to be able to switch into these renewing emotions. I feel relieved about having achieved that goal. I feel happy. I feel excited because something else is going to come up. I don't know, any of these emotions. And it's quite hard for a lot of people to actually express those emotions and put a right word behind it. But that could be a couple of ideas that might help you. What do you
Thanks,
think
and
about that?
I like them. I'm gonna do them after the call.
Okay, good. So it's
Thank you.
landing well with you. Good. Well, thank you very much. And thanks
Thank
for
you.
sharing as well. Anyone else? I'm looking through the chat as well, and another thing I wanted to share that is very interesting is because I see a lot of very interesting challenges for people and very, very different from one to another. What is amazing to see as well, and we see it in those times, but sometimes it's hard to detach and actually realize how we can make it, or how can we actually do something. But in those times when we're challenged and we're stuck in that in those very stressful situations, this is also the time when we become the most creative. We've seen it. The kind of things that are happening at the moment in terms of, well, the fact that we're here online doing a virtual creative mornings is a very good example. The new apps that are coming up that enable people to really connect, these are already the kind of things that we can see in terms of creativity. What I want to say is that specifically around the control, when we're in situations like we are right now where we have to self-isolate, it's really, really hard to actually think, how can we control the situation? It's a bit disempowering, and we're like, okay, we're being imposed a number of laws and ways we have to live, what we can and cannot do. So I feel I don't have control. What is very important, and that's the exercise I wanted to why I wanted to start with that exercise at the beginning, to show you how powerful is our brain and how it can impact the way we actually look at things. That exercise shows you that you don't have a bowl of lemons in front of you, but you can still, I had people actually write, I saw people writing down, well, I can taste it in my mouth, I can smell it, well, even though it's not there. So using our brain, and our creative brain, is going to be very important here. So what I want to say here is that you need to switch from that need of being in control to thinking about how can you influence the situation. Influencing the situation is much, much easier suddenly when you think about it. And I'm trying to, I saw an example, and then I went somewhere else, but there you go. There are things like feeling disconnected, for example, having time for myself, being patient, clearing my mind. These are a number of things where we might say, well, actually, I'm struggling with that because I don't have the environment to be able to do that. What I would challenge you to do is to think about, what is the smallest thing you can influence right now to start with. What would be a very good example to give you here? I'm trying to think of a good one that you would be able to relate to. It's not coming up suddenly. It's like the blank morning has come up.
Send a picture with a smile to your friends.
Yeah. Actually, they are with connecting with people. Here is a good one. You want to connect with people, but I don't know, maybe you don't want to use technology. How many of us, and you actually, I have a very, very good example here. That's something really cool, actually, that I haven't done yet, but I want to do. Um, People at the moment, I saw some in there as well, talking about anxiety and being depressed, maybe, or feeling lonely and so on. Well, there is a simple thing you can do is you can pick up the phone and talk to people, talk to your friends, help them, support them. That's a great way to do it. But then become creative a little bit. What if you were tomorrow to open your letter, your post box, and inside, instead of having a text message from your friend, inside your post box, there's a letter. When is the last time you wrote a letter to a friend? When is the last time you read a letter from a friend? We have the time to do that at the moment. We have the time to actually maybe just stop by the post office and then put it in the post box very easily on our way to shopping, so we don't distract ourselves and we stay safe on the way. But what's going to be the impact for the person receiving that rather than just receiving a text message or having a phone call? I'm sorry, it's going back a bit to the 90s and 80s, but why not? These are, I would love to receive a letter from a friend right now and have to just spend time reading a couple of pages. This would be a really cool idea.
I received 1 week ago actually a postcard from a friend who was in Brazil, and you can't imagine the joy it brought me.
There you go. It's so
Oh,
different. And when we're doing that, actually, that's a tool that is used a lot in when you talk about resilience as well. Random acts of kindness. There are lots of them happening at the moment, which is great. But this is one of them. It's like instead of texting you, I'm going to send you a postcard, and it's going to make you feel much, much different.
we had at some point another person who raised
Yes,
their hand.
yes, please.
Alisa, if you still want to ask the question.
Yes, I'm still here. Good morning, everyone. So basically, Julien, he pointed out like this aspect of feeling disconnected with people. The only issue is here, not that you don't have time or that you don't have technology in order to feel connected with your friends, but I am in the moment when I feel that if I watch like too many movies or if I use like too much time to talk on the phone, it's a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's a good thing that you would feel connected with your friends and family, I still have that sense of wasting time just on phone.
Okay. So here, I don't know if I have a specific tool for you on that one, but I'm going to make a reflection on that. In coaching, I would probably start digging and wondering a little bit more about what's the belief behind that, and it's something I had put on a paper as well, about talking about how does mental toughness relate to other areas as well, and some of the research that has been done around that. But I would ask myself actually here, what's the belief that is behind that about wasting time, and what does not wasting time it looks for you? What are the things that are important to you? And here probably dig a little bit more into values as well, personal values, because if you think about personal values, and that's something you can find online. If you look for something online about discovering my personal values, you will find a lot of exercises. Same, I can share one as well if you're interested. But what is going to be important to think about here is, how do you relate about these things that you want to create that connection with people, but at the same time, you don't want to have that feeling that you're wasting time. So what is really important to you really right now, I would say? What is the belief behind the idea that you are wasting time? And then maybe relate back again to your values and think, well, what is really important to me? So for example, one of my values is growth and learning and development and so on. That's something that is really important to me. Well, if I thought, okay, I'm gonna spend time connecting with people on the phone, but at the same time, I feel like I'm wasting time because I'm not spending time learning and growing and watching webinars and whatever. What I could do is say, okay, guys, how about we organize a small Zoom call with a couple of friends and talk about the topic. I have a WhatsApp group, for example, where regularly the friends are starting debating on things that are happening in the world. And obviously, they send a lot of random stuff as well. But they would debate on, okay, the impact, because we're all in different countries, the impact of coronavirus in our country, what it looks like, and so on. And I learned a lot about their point of view. They learn about mine as well. So what I'm doing here is I'm connecting with them, but at the same time, I'm still honoring my value of learning and growing. So that could be a way to think about it as well. How do you relate your values to those things that you want to do right now that enable you to actually keep those connections? What do you think?
I would try it. Or at least I will try to do something, or perhaps even if I'm talking on the phone, like shorten the conversation just to feel connected, and then not spending too much time on this one either. But I'll give it a shout, that one, like debate group.
One other thing you can do as well, because I think one tricky part with that is that often when I hear people saying I'm wasting my time, is because they don't necessarily always realize as well actually how much they've achieved. And another exercise that I can share is kind of a journaling type exercise, but the idea is that at the end of the week you write down 3 positive things that happened to you, 3 things you've achieved, 3 things you're grateful for, and then you reflect on your previous week, or you prepare for the next one as well. What are 3 social connections that I'm going to do or going to have with people? And the last one is to write down 1 thing I will do that it would enable me to feel less stressed about the current situation I'm in. So that's something you can do once a week. What it does with that is it brings up some of these achievements, some of these good things that have happened. And by piling up all these things, it gives you as well a feeling of what you've actually really done. And hopefully, a good realization is I actually haven't necessarily wasted my time. But you need to write it down. You need to make it visual.
Can you say them again?
Yep.
I lose track of them.
3 positive things that happened, 3 achievements, 3 things I'm grateful for, 3 people I'm going to connect with, and 1 thing that I'm going to do to feel less stressed.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks. I can see in the chat things like sending Christmas cards to friends. I love that. I have a friend, he's on the call actually, who sends a Christmas card every year, and I love it because it's always on my fridge, and every time I open the fridge, I think about them, and they're on the other side of the world, so it's a great thing to have. Yes, Mihai. At the end of the week, yes, it's a good way to do it once a week. In terms of the achievements, you could actually do it every day. So at the end of the day, you write down 2-3 things you've achieved during the day. I would start with doing it at the end of the week, once a week, because it takes, I don't know, 15-20 minutes. If you want to do it more often, that's fine. But I think sometimes it's hard when you have so many things to do and so many things you have on your mind. Maybe once a week, I think, is good enough to start with.
We had another raised hand before from Julia Oprish, if you still want to.
Yes, sure. So I wanted to state my opinion about being disconnected is that, well, I have the struggle. It's a conflict actually, because okay, I feel disconnected because I maybe don't have time to speak with my friends and stuff like that. But it's actually it's more than that, because I talk with my friends. I do it very often. I do it constantly. I mean, for me, this is the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
But me feeling connected to people means being with them, close to them, hugging them, being there for them, being able to touch them. I mean, for me, this is the most important thing. And as well as Alisa, I feel that I waste time talking to them, because virtual talk, it's not connection for me. I mean, for me, it's really difficult to connect virtually. I connect to people when they are close to me. So on the one hand, I feel this challenge that I want to achieve more, and I have more time, so I have to do more things for myself and be able to read, to write, to listen to a lot of things that I'm interested in. But at the same time, I want to, or even if I don't have this as a main goal, I will still connect with my friends and talk to them a lot, because this is what I do all the time and I cannot help it. So for me, this is the biggest conflict, and it's difficult to balance this.
Yeah. I you know, the part about connecting not virtually, I can definitely relate to you. I'm a very extreme extrovert. And when I was sharing earlier on about my routine of going to Starbucks in the morning, it is about being with myself and having time with myself. But the reason why I do it at Starbucks is because I have people around. I don't talk to them necessarily, but it's buzzing. There is movement. There are lots of things going around, and that appeals to my extrovert part as well, because I spend most of my time working in the office, and I'm on my own. My office is, I mean, I'm in the office right now, and above is my living room. So the only thing I do is to go out through the main door and come back in downstairs into my office. So I'm spending most of my time on my own, and it's really hard for me. So I can definitely relate to you on that one. And this is probably one of the hardest things at the moment, indeed. Again, maybe what is important there is to think about how do you actually create meaningful connections. And I can't give you a very specific answer on that one, because it really depends on you. What is meaningful, what is purposeful for you will be obviously different to anyone else on the call and myself. So an interesting thing could be maybe to think about, when you're having those connections, what is going to make the difference between being a meaningful connection versus actually we're just having a chat and it's the same chat as yesterday and it's nothing much different. It's just talking to each other to check that we're happy and we're okay and we're safe. So maybe take it to the next level. So maybe reflecting on that could be a very interesting way to look into it, with the downside of, you say, that it cannot be done physically at the moment. But that might help you kind of bridge a little bit and have a little bit of, be a bit closer to what is really important to you. With that's the influencing I was talking about earlier. Influence a little bit the situation while not being in control of it fully.
I actually want to thank you very much for the idea with the debate, because it's really nice. I mean, I'm intending to do a Facebook event and invite my friends and see who's joining for a meeting. I mean, this will be really interesting to discuss about our challenges and about the things that are really ardent for us in this moment. So
Brilliant.
that's a really great idea for myself, at least.
I'm glad. Good luck with that. I think a lot of people would be very interested.
Yes, thank you.
My pleasure.
Unfortunately, talking about time, we are slowly running out of time. But I'm sure, Julien, maybe if people still want to have questions for you, we can send them along with the materials, your email address,
Yes,
and
of course, yeah, definitely, with
if,
pleasure.
if you still want to add something else for
Well, I could be here for the next 5 hours if I wanted to. But I think so. No, I think the only thing I would probably wrap up the call with is remember that we're not in the normal that we are used to anymore. We are in we need to create a new normal, and this really starts with focusing on yourself. I can see a cat passing by someone's desk behind. It's so cool. You can see everything. Uh, think about yourself first. How do you make sure that you take care of yourself first? Because one thing I haven't talked about really is the reactions that we have when these events and stressors happen. The first thing that needs to be done is about managing those emotions, managing your physiological state first, and that's you. So don't think about, let go of the fact that the normal should be the way it was before. It doesn't matter. Redefine your new normal, redefine what is important to you, and make sure you include something that is just for you in there, for your own self-care. One exercise I haven't talked about actually that I really love as well is called what's the name exactly? It's oh, come on, do 10 things for yourself, I think, something like that. That's not exactly the name, but it is basically just write down a list of 10 things you want to do for yourself. That can be very simple to much more complicated. Write it down, and then for the next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, do one of them every couple of days and focus on yourself, because the impact it's going to have on the rest of your resilience is going to be huge. So I will close with that. Don't forget that the image I always have is when you go into the plane. The first thing they tell you is put your oxygen mask first before you do it for others. There's a reason for that. If you don't do it, you're not going to be able to help others. So if you want to help others, if you want to care for the people who are around you, your friends, your family, make sure that everybody's safe, you need to make sure that you focus on yourself first. That's it.
thank you so much for this food for thought, I would call it. And once again, thank you for accepting the invitation and sharing a beautiful sunny Friday morning with us.
With a pleasure.
Before we wrap up, I would like to invite you to have like a screenshot group photo. So if you would like to hold your favorite coffee mug and bring that awesome smile. For me, it will be challenging to do so, or I don't know. So 3, 2, 1, and cheese. Perfect. Thank you once again for joining us and sharing with us another Friday morning. We will have another event next week. The only small change is the fact that next week it will be in Romanian. But I'm looking forward to see as many lovely smiles and faces as we did this morning. Thank you once more. I will send you on email the materials Julien was talking about with his contact. And also, if you have any suggestions or a feedback, how we can do more entertaining or fun this type of gatherings, we are more than open to receive all of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Ciao.
It was good to see you again, Julien.
Likewise,
Good to
Vladimir.
see
Thanks a lot.
Hey, hello, Andrea.
Hey,
Bye. Have a nice day.
you
Have a
too.
nice
great day.
Bye.
Bye.